all the infected types of Last of Us Part 2. There will be spoilers, so if you haven't played the game yet or watched a Let's Play but want to experience the game first, then please skip this video. Also, this will be a gross video, because infected are gross. Sensitive souls should just skip this and rather watch a supercut of all of Ellie's jokes in the first part of The Last of Us, including the Left Behind DLC. For the rest of you, enjoy the horror show. The Last of Us Part 2 plays around 4 years after we last saw Ellie and Joel, and a whole lot of infected. Given what we know from the first game, the longer infected stay alive, the more they evolve into less human and more fungi-tastic creatures. In the following, we'll look at the types of infected we encounter in the sequel and speculate a little on their further evolution. Stage 1 Infected Runners. Runners nearly look like zombies, since they are still very human regarding their physiology. However, especially in the face and around their eyes, you can already see a certain transformation. A human who has inhaled too many spores or got bitten will usually turn within a few days maximum and will show signs within a few hours. As seen in the first part, Sam got bitten and turned within less than 1 day. Runners are not too dangerous on their own, but are a danger when they are in a group, especially with other further mutations of infected, since they still can see you and will alert. However, opposed to clickers and other later stages, their hearing is less defined and it is therefore easier to sneak up to them. There are runners that, like the name suggests, run around, and some that just stand howling in a corner. I like to call those emo runners. However, if they hear you or any noise, they will break into a frantic run, alert other infected of the location, and attack if possible. In a flashback with Tommy in Part 2, it is also hinted that runners are creating hordes and apparently migrate to find food.
Where are they coming from?
Hordes like to move through this area in winter. They always end up leaving behind a few stragglers.
They do the same routes every year?
Like a migration or something.
What's that about?
Well, when the barometric pressure reaches a certain temperature shit, I don't fucking know.
This is a new information and hints at a certain groupthink that could be dangerous and super interesting for a possible third game. Stage 2 Stalkers. Stalkers are physically already pretty inhuman. They are usually very skinny, have pale, scaly skin, and the fungal growth already broke through their heads and rest of the body. However, stalkers still can see, but also hear better than runners and are therefore quite dangerous. If that wasn't enough, they also usually appear in groups and gain their name because they will hide and stalk you, attacking ferociously when you least expect it. There are a lot of sightings within the game of stalkers or other types of early infected that fuse to a fungal growth on the wall. However, not all of them will stay there. Sometimes they will react to sound and break off the wall to attack. This wall fusion could be seen as a sort of cocoon to evolve into the next stage of infected from stage 4 on, since we often see gigantic wall growths whenever we encounter later stages. Whether clickers also need the stage to grow out of is not clear. Speaking of which, stage 3 Clickers. Clickers are fully blind since the fungal growth has blossomed over their face and severed the nerves of the eyes. They use echolocation and sound to orient themselves and emit a terrifying sound, gauging from the sound waves whether there is something or someone in their near vicinity. Clicker hearing is especially good, so if you want to sneak up on them, you better sneak as slowly as possible. It is suggested to never face a clicker head-on, but to be behind it or hide behind a barrier if you want to attack stealthily or evade it completely. Clickers are a lot more dangerous than runners or stalkers and can kill you instantly. Stage 4 Bloaters. Bloaters are a far more evolved form, or maybe a different form, of clickers. They are bigger, taller, and have fungus plates covering their body, which they will break off and throw at their victims, emitting harmful spores. In the hospital basement on The Last of Us 2, Ellie sees probably dead, infected, covered with fungal plates that can usually be seen in corners and on walls. Maybe these are early stages of bloater growth, but who knows? You will usually find a huge fungus-covered darker corner close to where a bloater roams, indicating that a bloater might be the next stage after a stalker or clicker has fused to a fungal wall growth. Despite their size, bloaters can break into a fast run and instantly kill everyone they can grab. The fungal plates also make it more difficult to shoot bloaters with smaller weapons. Stage 5, or Stage 4B, Shamblers. Shamblers are first encountered in The Last of Us Part 2, when Dina and Ellie end up in Seattle's subway system. Instead of growing fungal plates, they somehow developed spore blisters that will explode if they get hurt, die, or are near victims. These spore blisters are also acidic and will burn the victim's skin, eventually leading to death. Shamblers are less strong than bloaters and can be escaped. It is therefore possible that they are not a next step of evolution of the bloaters, but rather a different subspecies that has developed under different circumstances. This is implied in a note that Ellie finds close by a Shambler victim who speculates themselves that Shamblers might be a different branch of infected.
If any wolves read this, warn Isaac and the others. The rumors are true. There's a new infected out there. Looks like something made it halfway to a bloater and took a turn. Ugly motherfucker. Maybe all the rain around here caused a mutation? No idea. It was slow, so I put it down easy, but when I went to check it out, all these pustules on it exploded. Whole right side of my body is burned. Some kind of acid. If you see one of these things shambling towards you, stay back.
The Rat King.
The fuck is that?
In the basement of the Seattle hospital, ground zero for the outbreak in the city, Abby encounters the oldest form of infected yet known, the Rat King. The name comes from a term used for rats getting tangled by their tails, creating a ball of angry, confused rats. The infected Rat King is basically a pile of different infected that have fused together and thus created a giant infected that looks like Humpty Dumpty directed by Cronenberg. The Rat King breaks out of a room that is fully grown over with a fungus, but also is still bloody and wet, something we usually don't see with bigger fungal growths. It seems as if multiple infected have turned to that growth to fuse to the wall. This might be one of the very few times that more than one infected fused to the same spot. Given Tommy's comment about the hordes and migration, this might be another sign that the infected flock together the longer they exist. However, another reason could be that the infected got trapped in the room when the power was out and simply fused more or less involuntarily. It is shown that the Rat King is not one creature with one mind, but still contains individual infected that can and will break off and deal damage on their own. For example, Abby has to fight a stalker as well as the Rat King that tears off the giant monster blob. It is also notable that the stalker is a lot stronger than the usual ones we encounter in the rest of the game. The evolution of the infected. Especially the wide fungal growth in basements and older, mostly darkened buildings implies that the infected prefer darkness and possibly moist air, which usually helps fungus grow. We see many instances where the fungus grows over walls and creates entire landscapes of weird forms that seemingly are not alive, but might serve the infected as cocoons to take the next step in their evolution. The question is whether all infected that fuse with fungal growth on the walls will eventually turn into a different form, or whether some of them will just wither, since we see certain forms of presumably dead infected that have transformed and are covered with giant fungal plates or forms. What an infected needs to grow is up for speculation. Maybe enough human meat? It is also interesting to note that besides humans, there are no other species that we know of that are affected by the virus. Especially the existence of the Shambler as a seemingly new subspecies of the bloater is an interesting hint at a diverse fungal ecosystem that doesn't have a linear evolution but expands into different subspecies and could therefore be interesting to explore in a possible third game. Unfortunately, there's not much in-game info on the infected beyond Stage 4, so this is nothing but speculation. If you like this video, well, then like this video, subscribe and or comment with your own theories of the infected. I'm here for it. Take care and bye!